My name's Rich Harrington, and welcome to this edition of Understanding Adobe Photoshop. One of the key commands that you'll use in Photoshop to fix exposure problems is going to be levels. This is a very flexible adjustment that allows you to adjust the contrast and really tonal balance within an image. You can use it on severe images or just subtle changes for images that are almost right. Let's see how it works. With the layer selected, you can always choose Image, Adjustments, Levels, and invoke the Levels dialog box. And this has three sliders. A black slider that affects the contrast of the darks, a mid slider that affects sort of the tonal balance of the midtones, and a white slider that affects the white point. Now, I don't recommend using the Levels box here, so I'm going to click Cancel. Instead of applying adjustments with the Adjust menu, I highly recommend using the Adjust panel or an adjustment layer. Now, adjustment layers have been around for a long time, and as long as you're using Photoshop CS4 or newer, you have the Adjustments panel. Here it is. I'll go ahead and add that Levels adjustment, and notice the same dialog comes up here. So we have the ability to drag this to the left and open up the midtones a bit, and I can go ahead and push the whites. Now, up top here are our input levels, and this adjusts how the image comes in. This means that you can brighten up the image or darken it down. Down below are the output levels that affect how the image prints or displays. So in this case, I'm going to lower the white point just a tad, and instead of having a pure white, our brightest white will not exceed an RGB value of 245 or so. The benefit here is that we avoid clipping, and there's always some detail in the whites. If you want to see more information in your histogram, the visual representation up here, you can click and it'll actually adjust the histogram, making it a little more accurate. That first histogram is a quick preview. If you want to see greater detail up here, just turn that on. Speaking of histograms, you can actually call up the histogram panel as well. And this gives you a lot of information. So a lot of times when color correcting, I'll just open that up and I'll say give me the expanded view and show me all channels. And this allows me to see things. And I'll say set this to RGB, give me the composite view up top, and show me everything down below. Click it again and it updates, and it's even more accurate, and you get a good idea of what's happening. Notice as we drag that output level, how the white point adjusts and gets clamped at that hard edge. Now, I don't recommend dragging this far in because you're going to get really washed out images. But sometimes you'll lower that output level to 250 or 245, somewhere in there, just to get a little bit more detail in the white brights. That looks good, and notice we get interactive controls here. I could pull that black in for a tad more contrast. And if you want to see the before and after, you could just click the eyeball to toggle it off and on. And notice, while that's a subtle change, it's an important one, and it's really lifted the image out of the shadowy details. So a levels adjustment is in many ways like a fill flash and goes a long way. For Understanding Adobe Photoshop, my name's Rich Harrington.